Imagine being captured by the mighty Roman Empire, used as a slave, a gladiator, for the entertainment and the thrill of combat. The only way for you to succeed is to win your freedom. So, how did someone do this 4 times, and what the heck happened here? This is Brainspill, my name is Tank, and today we're talking about the gladiator that won their freedom 4 times. What a bloody legend. The world of ancient Rome was marked by grandeur, opulence, and the complex social hierarchy. Within this society, gladiators occupied a rather unique position, which was often quite perilous. They were warriors, entertainers, and sometimes even heroes. Among the many gladiators whose names have echoed throughout history, none stands quite as tall as Flamma, who achieved the remarkable feat of not only winning his freedom once, but 4 separate times. His story offers a glimpse into the brutal world of Roman gladiatorial combat and the tenacity of human spirit. Flamma, whose name in Latin roughly translates to the flame, has some rather obscure origins. Like many gladiators at the time, they were forced into this life, and we don't know much about them until later in life when they became legends in their own right. But for the early days, we simply don't really know much about him. Born sometime in the 2nd century AD in Syria, he was thrust into the life of the gladiator at a young age, which was the fate of many at this time who were often slaves or prisoners forced to fight for their lives in the arena. Flamma, however, would prove to be truly exceptional. Most people who were brought into this way of life would die, and that is the unfortunate truth of gladiators at this time in history. Few, however, stood amongst the rest and became champions, people who would be able to stand their own and beat the odds even when they're stacked horrendously against them. That was the case of Flamma. Do you know what? Sometimes I'd like to go back to those days and see how I would stand in that. Would I be able to survive a fight? Probably not, but it'd be interesting to see nonetheless. But then I remember that I actually have it quite cushy and that I spend all day sat at a desk, so maybe I'll give that one a skip for now. Maybe we'll hypothetically think how I do in a gladiatorial combat ring. Not well. Flamma's rise to prominence in the gladiatorial world was swift. He initially fought as a secutor, a heavily armed and armoured gladiator who battled net-wielding opponents. It is said that he earned his first victory by defeating his adversary with such swiftness and precision that the crowd erupted in applause. This victory marked the beginning of a remarkable career in the arena. Flamma's first path to freedom came when he was offered the chance to earn his liberty by defeating a fellow gladiator. He accepted the challenge and emerged victorious, earning the first step towards freedom. And that was just it. Most people learnt very quickly that the only path to freedom in this way of life was kill or be killed. That was the unfortunate truth of it all, and you just had to simply best your opponent at every step. Fighters were granted retirement or freedom if they showed great skill and bravery. In doing so, they were rewarded with a wooden baton known as a radius. So, with this, most gladiators would take their freedom and leave the life of the gladiator behind. Few people, however, did this because they wanted to do it. And Flamma was one of those people. When he was first offered his freedom, he went, "Nah, dog, bring me another." Flamma rejected the offer and decided to stay and fight. Either he'd been hit in the head too many times with a flail, or he truly loved doing this. So, I'll let you decide which one that might be. Despite having had the opportunity to leave this brutal life behind, Flamma chose to return to gladiatorial combat. His reasons remain subject to debate amongst many historians. Some speculate that he was drawn back to the allure of glory and riches, whilst others believe that he may have felt a sense of belonging in the arena. Flamma's second path to freedom occurred when, once again, he defeated another opponent in a high-stakes battle. His reputation as an unbeatable gladiator grew with it. As you might imagine, the 3rd and 4th time were very similar. He was offered freedom and denied it every time. Whilst many others perished in combat, Flamma stood above the rest, a champion, again and again and again. Flamma had a much higher fight count than most people here. At the young age of just 30, he lived longer than most people did in this way of life. And as he faced danger, pain and death on a daily basis, he continued to fight and endure and not accept his freedom. for some reason. So every time I watch the Gladiator movie, I'll think, this is pretty cool, but I know a gladiator who is a bit cooler than this. Someone who was real. Someone who decided to fight for fighting's sake. Like I said, whilst we don't know much about him and what happened to him, we do know that there is a gravestone in Sicily which records the following in Latin. Flamma sectur vix on Polungia visit. Look, I don't know Latin, so I'm just going to get the translation for you. It actually reads, Flamma secutor, lived 30 years, fought 34 times, won 21 times, fought to a draw 9 times, won reprieve 4 times, a Syrian by nationality, a gladiator, made this for his deserving comrade in arms. This eroded inscription on an ancient tombstone in modern-day Sicily is pretty much all that remains of this infamous gladiator. Hence why historians are scratching their heads over this to try and figure out what happened, who was Flamma, and what his ultimate fate was. Based on the fact that this is an inscription from a fellow gladiator, I think we can guess what happened. Death comes for us all, in whatever way that may be. Whilst he was truly a great fighter, winning 21 times, the gravestone says that he was offered reprieve 4 times, meaning that whilst he was a great fighter, he was clearly a respected man as well, because if he was a dick to everyone, the first person that got the opportunity would be lopping his head off. But the reality of this is that reprieve is offered by the audience. If you can win the audience over and get their respect, then your life may be spared for another day. Despite the lack of records about Flamma, his story resonates through the ages, reminding us of the capacity of the human will to overcome even the most daunting of challenges. In a society where gladiators were often seen as expendable and disposable, Flamma's repeated victories and eventual freedom elevated him to the status of a hero. His story inspired countless others and served as a symbol of hope for those trapped in similar dire situations. However, we don't know the true story here. We don't know if there's more than meets the eye. It seems that Flamma had a single desire, however, to meet his end in the arena, accompanied by the thunderous cheers of his adoring audience, and for him to be felled in combat like he had done so to so many others before him. If you guys liked that video, here's another one just like it. I'll see you guys in the next video. Fantastic.